And I'm messing my equipment up right at the beginning. That's awesome. So, everyone, welcome Riley. Riley is I don't know if I would say a long time friend. It's kind of a long time friend. We've known each other 3 years almost.
Yeah, 3, maybe.
We've
I don't
gone.
know. It's been a long time.
3?
Yeah,
18?
something like
I
that.
think we met either fall Pomona or falls. No, it had to be fall Pomona.
Yeah, it was definitely
Because you
Pomona
don't
show.
go down to San Diego anymore.
Yeah, rarely, yeah.
I don't blame you. That's a long ass drive.
Yeah, especially now that I'm up here.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah.
But okay, so almost 3 years, I guess.
Yeah.
And then what's up, Bods? Lots of tequila shots. I think we almost got kicked out of the hotel that night for drinking tequila in the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
And
That
finally,
was a late one.
Someone was smart enough to fucking hide the bottle. I'm pretty sure that was you, right? That was you that took the bottle to the hotel
put it behind
room?
my back. Yep.
So, cheers to memories, brother.
Cheers. That was a good one. Some of the best times at Pomona, man. And oh, man.
Oh. So, if you guys do not know, Riley has found a way to take his passion and really turn it into an everyday lifestyle. And the way he makes his money, which I freaking commend you on, brother. That's not something that very many people get to say nowadays. Is you get that 9 to 5 and you might do something as a hobby, but you have literally taken your passion and made it your 9 to 5 plus your hobby, which is freaking amazing. Like, just I want to talk a little bit about what it's like and kind of the steps you found yourself taking to get there.
Yeah. So it really started, a long time ago. Like, I've been into reptiles since I was a kid, got into them when I was like 8 or 9, when I got my first snake. After a year of research and proving to my parents I was into it. Bullfrog. And then as I was getting close to the end of college, I was starting to see the reality of like, I need to figure something out. And I wasn't interested in like anything, like really nothing. I took such a broad variety of subjects in school, and like everything was just kind of like, whatever. So I ended up volunteering at the zoo. Really enjoyed that, and a career presented itself a year and a half into volunteering there. And then I just rode that train for like 8 years. So I was a zookeeper from like 2012 to 2018, and then moved up to Sacramento, and in between worked construction till I got into the zoo up here. So for the first 7 or 8 years, my career was doing it in the zoo type field, and then, just breeding snakes and keeping snakes on a hobby level as just an extra bedroom passion sort of thing, and just doing it on the side for fun, and really just taking off with that. And then kind of in the last 6-8 months, the zoo stuff was really not doing it for me, and I could see an opportunity presenting itself on the horizon, and it just really worked out at the right time where my local shop that I had already been working part-time for was making a big transition into a new, bigger building, bigger facility, breeding facility, upgrading, and just really making a push for a substantial, sort of establishment. And it just worked out. It was, a familiar thing for me, and the transition was kind of seamless, and it worked out, and it's still working out. And it's like, there's no looking back, because it's been doing really well, and everything's poised to just keep going, onward and upward. So it's interesting how I kind of got there, but it was all just by like uncertainty, my mom pushing me to check out the zoo thing working out, then meeting my girlfriend, and then her getting a job up here, then us moving, and just meeting people and just changing directions. So yeah,
I'm sorry. My kids are losing.
Yeah. That's all good, man.
Oh.
That's the beautiful thing about having family.
Right? They are definitely a handful. I love it though.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way, I'm sure.
I know of a few different species that you keep. Well, I think I know most of the species that you keep, but can you kind of elaborate on what it is you're keeping? I know you're far different than most people. Like, if someone says this is a popular snake, you will not see it in Rileys collection. It's not going to happen.
I mean,
And that's what I love about it.
initially, yeah, it seems like some of the things I've been keeping forever are starting to gain some popularity,
Right.
which is really cool. Like, I have nothing against popular species. I've always started my search for what I'm curious about with a popular species, and then going down a rabbit hole, kind of finding tangents off of that, and just finding something unique based off that. Because don't forget, I started, I really learned the seasonal feeding and breeding and anatomy and biological shift with ball pythons, and then just transition into everything else. That was how I got my training wheels, essentially. And I'm very grateful for that, because I learned a lot and met a lot of people in those first years. Yeah, and you mess up, you learn from your mistakes, you learn the early lessons early on, and then you keep going. But yeah, the majority of my collection, I'd say like 80% of it is carpet pythons. I think I have like 50 of those right now. Then 7 or 8 Brazilian rainbow boas in my breeding lineup. Pair of black-tailed crebos. Pair of Dumerals boas. Pair of corn snakes. I have a trio of Madagascar giant hognose.
Are we still working ATBs?
No, I moved that project. I didn't have the space to do those animals justice. They were growing and they were beautiful and they're doing fantastic. And the next step for them would have been to move into either converted tubs like what you see. Wait, no, right there. No, move my head that there. Yeah. That's where my Papuan python is. So I have one of those, Apodora. I've got a female coming soon to complete the pair. But I had put together a great trio of yellow patternless, and I just didn't feel like I was going to be able to do them justice space wise. So I ended up selling them to Jeremy Turgeon out at Nerd, and he's got quite the collection of ATVs going. So I'm hoping they'll do well for him there.
But that's not it. Like, you don't just do snakes. I mean, obviously, the majority of what we talk about is snakes.
Right.
I didn't know about the bullfrog till right now. Well, I mean, I've seen pictures, but I didn't know it was in your house till right now. And then I know you have tarantulas, because we've had many a conversation about tarantulas.
Yeah, I forgot. I mean, I'm looking at a whole... Yeah, I got like 9 tarantulas, a few scorpions, some vinegaroons, an African bullfrog, a savanna monitor, some crested geckos, a Russian tortoise.
You have a zoo, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a mini zoo in that room.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it.
I don't know either. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't at the same time, because I now
all the way to the ceiling.
Yeah, I have 2 rooms that are becoming reptile rooms, essentially.
I'm jealous. I want a second room.
Well, the second room is my master bedroom. Because
cool
that's become my quarantine room.
That's fair.
So I clean my stuff. My clothes stay in like the laundry area, and I'll grab the shirt that I need for the day. I'll go check the regular collection, and I'll come to my room and I'll do whatever I have to with the quarantine animals, and then it goes off and into the laundry, and it doesn't leave my room until laundry time. So I'm trying to do it right, but it's not right.
No, I mean,
everyone has that fuck up.
There's anything you can do to help prevent cross contamination is the way to go for it. So
So how would you say that your breeding strategies or like your keeping strategies differ from what you normally see in this industry? Because I feel like you focus a lot more on enrichment of your animals and actually paying attention to the seasons, where there's a lot of us that are just like, well, if I drop the temperature by 4 degrees around this time and feed them 200% instead of 100% for like a month and a half, 2 months to beef them up before breeding, they should go for us. And you have literally made it like a year-long ritual in the way that you do things. It's very methodical. So can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of trying to replicate seasonal food cycles for animals to what they would naturally experience. So feast and famine. And there are species that experience extremes where there's only food available to them 12 weeks out of the year. Just to give you like a really crazy example, there are animals that you can do that with. And those are probably some of the more dwarf island boas. But I like to feed in sort of rhythms with their native habitat. So if there's a season like a spring where the rain comes in, and then you get a lot of seasonal plant growth, which triggers a lot of rodent and mammal growth and insect growth, then it's a good time for these animals in those areas to feed. So I like to replicate an abundance of food during that time when it's hot and the animals are kind of lethargic and more prone to retreat and hide, and it's hard there to get food. Food is scarce in the summer, and then in the fall, bring it up when babies are being born, things like that. More rain's coming. So I like to have 2 peak feeding seasons and then cut things off in the winter. So they're not, really eating much in the winter, and they go down for a little bit. I let the room get cool to a certain degree. I manage that. I keep an eye on it. For, females that are breeding, I like to feed heavily as if they're ravenous, trying to hunt and get as much fat stores before going down for the winter to give them the best shot at breeding. So I like to do a lot of seasonal feeding, cycling with temperature and the photo period. I'm fortunate that I have a window in here, so everything gets the natural shrinking and expanding of the length of the days. And so I kind of replicate that where I can. And then I institute a lot of misting and spraying species to sort of simulate a wet season when I can. So, and then as far as enrichment goes, you just kind of see animals by their behavior, what they like to do. And so the Cribos, I like to keep them on substrate because they really like to burrow and kind of nose around. Same with the Dumerals boas. Some of my carpets as adults tend to be a little bit more heavy bodied and terrestrial. So they like to kind of sprawl out. So I tend to give them a little more space for the big females to get more room. And I'll give them these big tubes that they can kind of curl up in different hides. I'll swap things out. Especially this time of year, I'll give them like hide boxes with mosses in there. So they can sort of feel like they've got this little hidden cave. My Darwin albino girl, she's the only adult female of mine that seems to really behave kind of unusually when she's on the flat ground. So occasionally I'll catch her on this log that I keep in there. She'll get up off the ground. So she's the only one who's like sort of perches. And then I've got some babies that I give perches to just because they weren't eating well when they didn't have them. And they were just on the ground. You give them a perch and they seem to do well. So I just like to pay attention to what each of my animals is telling me. I've got a 1.5-year-old baby that went off food when I upgraded her into what I thought was an appropriate size tub. And so she's back into her hatchling tub and she's eating, not very confidently, but she's eating. So there's some different things that go on, but I kind of cater my care to what the species sort of are telling me. Rainbows get a bunch of substrate. They love to muck around in moist, damp substrate and like coconut husk, like 3 inches deep. They love that. So I just try to do that and then switch it up from time to time, refresh it, give them sticks, give them plants. My monitor lizard gets his cage turned over every couple of months and a whole, layout overhaul. So he's got to reestablish and figure things out. So, you just do that, and you kind of get a little bit more of just a less reactionary animal overall. They're a little bit more exposed to new and novel stimuli, so that when you're interacting with them, you tend to get a more confident animal behaviorally. So,
I mean, it makes sense to me. So, Austin put out a question.
that guy.
Something about a pro skateboard career.
Yeah,
when your pro skateboard career started.
that never happened. I don't know what he's talking about. I skateboarded for 17 years and I sucked for 17 years. So I never so much as got a sponsorship, but I enjoyed it. I beat the crap out of myself. And when it gets cold, or if I sit in a position for too long, my legs sort of seize up. So I've paid my dues, if that's what he's asking.
Yeah. So I did. Have you? Well, obviously you've been to Pomona, so you've been to Ontario.
Yeah.
You know that YMCA outside of Ontario with the oversized 10 stair that is not a 10 stair. It's like a auditorium steps.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. My dumbass, when I was, what was I, like 19 years old, I tried to jump that.
Cool.
Did not end well.
No. I've got friends that can do that. Like, they're naturally gifted. And they really started surpassing me, and I started getting hurt a lot. And then when I started working at the zoo, the first time I had to work with an injury, so I went home, visited some friends, went to the skate park. First 10 minutes at the skate park, landed primo on a heel flip, rolled my ankle really bad. Sat out the rest of the session, like couldn't hang. And turned out that I tore a bunch of stuff in that ankle, and it was a really bad sprain. And so it naturally was really wrapped up, and I had to do a bunch of stuff to like care for it, put it in a brace and everything. And then I had to go back to work. And when it was difficult and painful to put my foot in a boot, and then I'm hopping fences with like a busted ankle, that's when I was like, it's one or the other, and I got bills to pay, and it ain't coming from skateboarding. So
you gotta reconsider your life.
Yeah. So I backed off that big time, and lately I've actually been getting back on the board just for some exercise and some fun, some enrichment for myself, and it's been cool. But I am in no shape to be doing what I used to do. I ain't jumping off roofs anymore.
Bro. I'll cruise. I will not do anything else now. Like I tried to do a kick flip the other day and instantly went on my ass and was like, yep, it's time to give up the tricks. I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah. Rolling around is fun. Like, I'm glad I still have my feet in my board. I feel pathetic not being able to do that. So I went out with some guys that are older than me that like haven't stopped. And so like it motivated me to like kind of just pick up, and I ended up, having a 3-hour session with one of the bird keepers at the zoo here he's never stopped. He was sponsored in magazines, the whole nine back in the day. And now he's a badass bird keeper, and proud to call him my friend. And he got me out of my board for the first serious session in a long time. And it was fun, but damn, was I sore for like 5 days after that.
For sure.
Yeah. I have no business doing that regularly, but once in a while it's cool.
Deadly Tarantula Girl wanted to know, what species of scorpions are you keeping?
Right now I have the Arizona striped tail, so Paravajovis spinageris, Paravajovis spinageris, something like that. I have an Asian forest scorpion little baby that I've been raising up because we got a bunch in the shop, so I figured what the hell. And then I've been sitting on a little desert hairy scorpion baby that I've been raising up for the last 2 years. And that Arizona striped tail I got at the beginning of the year ended up being a wild caught female that I didn't know was gravid, and she had babies a month or so ago. So I had 58 scorpion babies all of a sudden. And so I got a crash course in raising like super small babies. I've raised Asian forest scorpion babies before, but never things this small. So that was interesting. And a lot of them have gone on to good homes, and I brought all of them into the shop. So they're at the shop. So
yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to keep 50 plus scorpion babies in my house either.
Well, it's interesting because they can't get out of their little sauce container, so it's a very small environment, and they're like smaller than a grain of rice. And I get these little semi-clear condiment cups from the dollar store, and I snip the nozzle just big enough for a fruit fly to get through. Take a funnel, take a fruit fly culture, dump what I need in there, and then I can tap one fruit fly in a cup at a time, just go down the line, and I can feed 60 scorpions in like 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's still a lot of work.
Oh, I believe it. I believe
it was fun though.
I remember
cool.
your stories on Instagram, and I was just like,
dude, those things were about it. They were savage little buggers. They're going after those things. It was great to see, man. It was cool.
I wish my freaking slings were that way, but I have to sit there and like pre-kill their food for them, and I'll go back and be like, hey, did you eat off of it? Okay, you ate off of it. Let me replace this carcass with a new one a week later. You know what I mean? I mean, it's fun. The adults they're no joke. Like nothing even hits their webbing.
Yeah.
As soon as they sense food's coming in, it's over. They're on top of it. So that's nice, but I'll get those slings there one day, but
yeah, they'll get
I'm also a brand new freaking bug keeper, tarantula keeper, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So
gotta start somewhere.
It's been a fun your dream animal or species morph. I know you're more of a locality guy, but if you could work one animal that you do not have now, what would it be?
Are we talking something that's like realistic, something that I can get legally in the United States, or like?
Well, I mean, you do live in California, so I know there's a couple of things you can't get over there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
And then there's some stuff that you just can't get in the U.S. Period.
Yep.
But whatever, we'll play both.
Okay.
One you can get, and one that you will probably have to travel to get your hands on.
Something that I could legally keep. Dream species, if I had the space for it.
Does it start with a K? I feel like everyone starts with a K.
Well, I feel like that's not necessarily legal because I don't think I could get the permits for that. I don't think so. Dream species, bar none, would be a Komodo, just because that's like the most intelligent vertebrate reptile on the planet, I think. And I've had the opportunity of being in an enclosed space with several of them at Miami Zoo and getting to witness that firsthand. Just that how they react, how they think, how cued in they are. We rolled up to the back area of their like breeding facility of their Komodos, and we had just finished feeding a bunch of Crocs, Orinoco's, Cubans, things like that. And so we had a couple buckets of quail and rats in the back left over. And as soon as we pull up, both big females are outside, like fully up and alert, scenting. And we didn't really think about the fact that we had food in the buckets in the back. We go in without the food. The food stays outside, right? So we go in the building, open the door, open the guillotine. The big 9-year-old female comes rushing in, mouth open at the main keeper. He's on Instagram. His name is Zookeeper Ryan. Mouth open at him. He puts his boot up, and she kind of goes, wait, that's not food. Gets confused, goes left to the door right at me. And I was like, well, I'm about to do the same thing, but I'm not on their insurance, so this could be bad. And the curator was there, and they they turned off her feeding response pretty quick, and all was right with the world. But it was a fascinating behavioral switch to see. They just had to kind of do something to flip that switch for her visually with some cues, and it was amazing. Then we got to work another one, and dude, they're the kings.
Pucker moment.
Yeah. My butt puckered for sure. And I have photographs afterwards. You can see the elation on my face. I'm like smiling as I'm like petting them. I've got video clips of petting and things like that I can't share publicly, but I can show you in person if you ever ask if I see you. But Um,
I'll be down to Pomona again eventually.
yeah, I'll have to show you. I did a lot of fun stuff in Miami that well, some stuff that was all
we won't
professional.
talk about it here. We won't.
A lot of it was professional. There was a few things that are questionable, but those were my own choices, not
Wait a
affiliated
second.
with work.
Riley made a questionable decision. No, that doesn't sound like you, sir. That would
And
never happen. I mean,
no.
definitely not you.
Mm-mm. Safety first, kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be a responsible keeper. Don't act like the goofball adults you see in front of you.
Yeah. So yeah, fantasy would be Komodo. Realistic, legal. I don't know, dude. I think because there are permits for it, I think I would like to one day own a pair of Eastern Diamondback rattlesnakes. I had the pleasure of learning how to work venomous with a few species of rattlesnakes and vipers and things like that. And the big, angry 5 foot, 10-pound Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake female that hated everybody with every inch in her body taught you respect real quick. I learned proper safety protocol, 2-hook handling, proper safety methods, removing the animal before servicing, no free handling, none of that stuff. I know how to tail, but I have certain species that I do and don't with, and size limits and things like that. And I have a lot of respect for that animal, and they're just fascinating and beautiful. And seeing them in their nice, beautiful coil, big, healthy, A-framed animal, the head right in the middle, the rattle behind, just that's something special right there. So I think if I could get the permits to just own a pair and cohabitate a pair, I think I would love to do that in a nice big naturalistic vivarium.
I'm partial to Western myself, but I think it kind of falls in with what you know.
Aatrox are beautiful, man.
Aatrox
beautiful,
freaking amazing. They want to take your head off, but they're amazing.
Well, that's the thing. Like some of them go like a little too far. I can appreciate a defensive, cranky, like liable to pop off at you sort of, snake. But sometimes those things just they just lose their marbles and just kind of go off, and the lid blows, and they don't know how to bring it back in. So
right, but that's what I grew up with. Like unfortunately, I've lived in a lot of different places in the U.S., but the majority of my time has all been within like 100 miles.
Yeah.
So I know,
so what's around you
really well. And
yeah.
that was my passion. Like that's what I grew up with. That was what was outside. Now with being where I am, I get into prairies. There's some, what the heck are they called? The speckled rocks, I believe.
Yeah,
you have
to
go. You have to go really high into the mountains.
Yeah, the montane species are really cool. A lot of pretty much any rattlesnake, any crotolid, anything like that. Massasaugas, holy cow, dude! Massasaugas are beautiful. Pygmies. I was fortunate enough while I was at the Sacramento Zoo to work with a Catalina Island rattleless rattlesnake, and a stark white with gold diamonds. Just a beautiful, tiny little, dwarf species, so to speak. Northern Pacific, Southern Pacifics are phenomenal. I've worked with melanistic ones, gray ones, green ones. They're amazing. Did
you see that northern that Gundy posted today?
Yeah. He finds some really nice ones out where he's at. We found a really cool northern when I was herping a couple months ago with my buddy and Nick Mutton and Ryan Young and Jeff Godbold, and we cruised a little baby in the middle of the street at like 1 a.m. that was just beautiful stone gray. Just, you can't beat it, man. They're just so nice.
I think that's the thing for me too, though. Like I started. Well, I actually didn't even start with ball pythons. I started with boa constrictors.
Okay.
But I went from the BCI to ball pythons, which I appreciate them. They're in no shape, way, or form my favorite, but I appreciate like the educational value they give. I
Oh,
appreciate the
100%.
different patterns, the different colors that you can get from there, and
Oh yeah.
what it has done for the industry. I will always
Mhm.
keep them strictly for education. Like I'll breed just to say I'm breeding them, but my focus is like the longer that I'm in the industry and the longer that I watch everything else, my focus is slowly diverting more and more toward more dangerous or defensive, or hey, you probably shouldn't have just one person in the room when you're working with this animal type animals.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, my
and I,
poplins are gonna be like that.
yeah, my wife agreed to eventually let me have Aatrox. The thing is, I have to work on the venomous license, which I'm
Mm.
already setting up, and then I promised her that the kids will be of a much older age than they are right now. I
Yeah.
can't promise that they're all going to be teenagers by then, but
No, just wait
I'm
till
going to
they're
try to let them get a little bit older
yeah.
before I start keeping
Once they're at
venomous
that
in the
point
house.
where they're good at following directions and you know they're not getting into cabinets and things, you can get a locked enclosure that's childproof, you know, no problem.
Right.
Keep it in a locked room, keep it in a locked enclosure, you know. There are protocols for safety where not only should keep you 100% safe and bite free, but your children and your family as well, 100%.
I look forward to the day, but like I said, there's a lot of lead up. There's a lot of permits that I have to get in order to do it, but
Hey,
it
that's
comes
no
with time,
problem.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, no need to rush that, man.
Right.
That just more time for practice and mental preparation, you know.
So what's made the biggest impact? Not just like a person, like if you could pinpoint one lesson or one person that has made the biggest influence on you in this lifestyle or industry or whatever you want to call it, what would you say it is?
Ooh,
I told you I'm coming with some heat tonight.
yeah, no,
I thought about
I
these questions. It's not just, hey, what's your favorite gene?
no, I love it. I love these types of questions, and I love that I have no heads up because you've seen my videos. I like to kind of shoot from the hip, and I don't like to really rehearse anything. And I think you get a more authentic and genuine response, even if like you ask me again on the fly, you'd get a different answer. Um, if I had to say somebody who's made a big positive impact on me or just influenced me in a significant way, I would say it would be probably Todd Dyer from Psychotic Exotics. And there's a very complex reason why. When I was first getting into keeping reptiles and finding out about, well, not first getting into reptiles, first getting into like the hobby side of it in the early 2012, 13 area, when I was just kind of finding out about the Southern California show scene, and then learning about carpet pythons and everything like that. He was the big carpet guy in my area down there that really was willing to talk to me at shows and open up to me. And I was that pestering, you know, young adult that just like constantly barraging him with messages. And he had to like tell me to like chill out, and he kind of like schooled me in a few ways, and he let me take some lumps as far as like, you know, getting schooled in forums or online or Facebook or whatever. And then he took me under his wing, and he brought me into his shop, which apparently is, you know, kind of something he doesn't do. And I was eternally grateful for that. And I think I've been there twice. And I kind of like put him on a pedestal where I thought he was like this rock star working for Kerry King, this crazy, you know, like king, larger than life dude. And I still regard him in that way, just in a more of like a out of respect way. And he sort of helped me pump the brakes on this like mystified idea of what I thought being a full-time reptile breeder was, because I'd always tell him I wanted to be just like him and do all this stuff, and he was like, no, you don't, dude. And so he kind of forced me to like take my own trajectory, pump my own brakes, eat some crow, and I learned a lot. And I think he kind of just helped, you know, keep me humble about a lot of things. And I would say that without his tutelage in my earlier years, I would not have gone the direction I did. And I'm eternally grateful for that, and I look up to him as a mentor. So,
You ready for this?
Don't
Don't worry,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
not gonna make you strip or anything. This isn't a Cusco uncut.
But it's getting really warm in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you
Close
wanna
the
strip,
window,
go
the
ahead.
fan is off. It's getting warm in here.
I mean, if you want to strip, that's on you.
Yeah.
I don't get paid for it yet, so I'd like
Me
you to
neither.
hold out.
Me neither. We'll save that for when you're monetized. Yeah, exactly. Or that might work against you.
It might.
Yeah,
Oh well. I mean, I am who I am. I'm gonna keep being who I am.
fair enough.
Where do you see the industry headed? And with all the new legislature being written against keeping reptiles, do you see it staying a regular hobby or factor because of all that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I'm sort of a glass half empty person most of the time, and I tend to be rather cynical, and I find myself going down pessimistic roads at times. But lately, and part of it is because of the response of people in the hobby over the last few years, when people come into crises, whether it be their collections burning down or a death in the family or something of, you know, some significance, and how everybody sort of rallies around one another. That's very encouraging and very motivating. And it's still happening during COVID.
Right.
COVID is potentially one of the, you know, most significantly damaging times in our lifetime. And it's pretty monumental that it seems to have boosted the reptile industry in such a huge way, as far as like sales and influence, and people are at home, so they're spending more time with their animals and taking their animal. Like, I talk to people in the medical profession, and their intake has gone up big time. Like, that means there's a lot of people taking their animals to vet, spending time with them, taking care of them. I see the hobby only getting better just because of human nature and influence, even though there's so many people that just like to set little fires and cause trouble and just be problematic. I think we hear about the negative more than we hear about the good. And I think the good far outweighs the negative. And I think with the way it's going, it's becoming more normalized in the mainstream, which can only have positive effects, in my opinion. Even if some people think that leads to, like, you know, keyboard warriors or care sheet keepers or, you know, Facebook experts or whatever.
I mean,
Yeah,
it does, but at the end
it does, but that comes with the territory, right?
Right.
So, like, you got to understand that coming into that, there's going to be a corporate side to it always. If it becomes mainstream, somebody's going to try and make money off it, and that's just fun. That is what it is. You don't have to be a part of it, and you don't have to speak on it. You don't have to add more negativity to the discussion on it. You can just let it exist and just, you know, not associate with it, and that's fine. And I think more people are finding their identity in this and opening up about it and being more true to themselves. And I think it can only keep going in a positive way. And it has its ripple effect, these waves, these up and downs as far as trends and fads. And, you know, 20, 40 years ago, colubras were the hot deal, and then they lost a lot of emphasis, and now they're coming back. And we see these trends, like these ebbs and flows. And so as long as there is an industry, there'll always be that sort of wave. And I think it's potentially, like, a lot of us are looking at these books and we read these accounts of things from, like, the 70s and 80s, like Lizard King and Stolen World, and all these like we listen to Eugene Bissett, and we read all these books from all these guys and these interviews that are going on and all these other podcasts, and we learn about what happened well before our time, and we're like, man, if only I was around back then. But dude, look at what's going on right now. It's like a whole nother revolution in reptiles, and it's probably like the most exciting time to be in reptiles as far as I'm concerned, because if you'd have told me I can make a living working in the reptile hobby 5 years ago while I was in zoos, I would have told you I'm barely doing it in zoos. There's no way in hell I'm making it in the hobby, and it's exactly the opposite. So I don't know. I think it's only going onwards and upwards. So,
and I think that's a huge thing nowadays. Is so I don't even know how to put this. I'm not gonna say I'm an entrepreneur, like.
Well, sure you are.
I mean, in a sense, I am, because I'm trying to start my own ways of making my own money and not relying on a company to take care of me and shit like that. But
sure,
I religiously listen to Gary Vee.
Hey, that's great. I subscribe to his podcast too. I watch a lot of his stuff.
Just the way, I think what COVID has really done is it's given us that downtime to actually let ourselves out. And I think that's why the reptile industry, because it's a very creative industry, whether you're just breeding the animals. If the only thing that I've seen it dampen in any aspect of reptiles is the educational shows. And people are finding ways to still do that, which is amazing. Like I applaud them for it, because I without seeing that child light up, or like
it's not the same.
Seeing that fear in the adult thing switching, like it's just not the same for me. I'm not getting my adrenaline high that I used to get from shows, so I don't want to do it over the internet. But the people that can do that, I applaud, and
I agree.
It's been very helpful during COVID, because we're all able to focus on what we're best at, I think.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing is, I think it's put a lot of perspective about the fragility of our lives in the world and the system we live in. And I think people are finally like being true to themselves and what they love. And I think that's like the best thing for everybody, is to, walk your path, pursue what you love, whatever that ends up being, even outside of reptiles. Like, you only have one shot. You only have one life to live, and it could all end in an instant. Somebody could sneeze on you today and it could be done tomorrow. Like, it sounds silly, but like, that's the world we live in.
I mean, you got 14 days. Just coming from a medical standpoint, you got about
supposedly, yeah. And but you know what I mean? Like,
no, I got you.
It's never been more in our faces than right now, right? And I don't know. Every year it seems like there's celebrities that we all love passing away, and horrific accidents happening, and this and that. But like, 2020 has been laying it on thick, and I think it's never been more apparent that, like, love your planet, love your life, and just do what feels good otherwise,
But and this is one of the things I really love Gary Vee for, is he always looks at the positive side of things. So one of the things that he said in multiple videos, and if you start looking at the percentages, we've actually kept more people alive this year during the pandemic than we would lose on a regular basis.
Wow.
You don't have as many people on the roads.
All right, then.
You don't have as many people doing the regular everyday job day to day, because they're not being required to do that. They're staying home. Well, some of them are staying home. I'm
a little bit more.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one of those guys. I've literally been all over the U.S.
I've been working more than ever.
My lifestyle.
Yeah, I've been working more than ever.
So I'm not the best person to talk about that. But
yeah, no, that's interesting.
The actual percentages of deaths per year, 2020 versus like 2019, 2018, from like traffic accidents and things like that you would have on an everyday scenario, has gone down because people are not on the road. Like, there was a 3-month instance. So here in El Paso, specifically where I live, between 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning, and from about 3:30 in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, if you hit my neighborhood, you are not moving.
Oh,
Like your last 3.5 miles of going home or trying
crawl.
to get on the highway to work is literally like LA traffic.
Oof.
And I don't understand it because the city's honestly not that big, but it's just all the military congregated to this one area. So
Right. Mhm.
everyone's like 5 feet, like the houses are 5 feet apart and everyone's jammed into one vehicle
Right.
and you're all pushing, right? So
Right.
if you think about that, for 3 months, 4 months almost of this year, you didn't have that. Like I could literally make it across town in I think like 25, 30 minutes in something that would usually take me about 50 minutes to do because of
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah. It
is
took
that
me
all?
13 minutes to get to the FedEx center to drop off snakes today, and it normally takes me 30. So
That must have been nice. What'd
yeah,
you
it's
send
great.
out?
I sent out 5 rainbows today. Yeah, the last 5 babies I had available this season. So, yeah.
So what would you say is your greatest moment so far as far as like the industry?
As far as the industry, like hobby related, oh shoot. I mean, the only reason I'm not gonna say producing Madagascar giant hognose is because it was a bit of a fluke, and I only got 1 baby out of a possible 3, which is not a good number of eggs anyway from what they could potentially produce. So I want redemption on that before I ever pat myself on the back for that. But uh, I would like to think it might be my 100% success with rainbow boas ever since committing to them, taking the plunge on them, doing the right amount of homework and research, and talking with people and following the right individuals in it, and having nothing but surprising amounts of success with them 100% of the time so far. I'm still kind of in disbelief at how well I've done with them. Every time I've tried to breed them, I've bred them. I've never had any ailments in them.
That's freaking stellar, dude.
The babies are always perfect. They always eat for me within 48 hours of being born. I mean, I've literally never had an easier species to keep, breed, establish, produce, find new homes for. I'm almost kind of like annoyed by it at this point, because it's like everything else is like a minimal challenge, and I'm like, what the hell, like you're not, like I'm frustrated because they don't eat right away. I'm like, everyone else is used to it. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes rainbows spoil me, but it's either that or kind of really working some stripe stuff with my jungles and really putting the right puzzle pieces together for the future for that. So I'm really excited about that and kind of working on my own stripe line. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Where do you think your hobby is going in the next 3 to 5 years? Like what do you see happening in your collection? Where's there going to be growth? Where are you going to cut down a little bit? Because it's always a give and take.
Right.
So where's Rileys Reptiles going in the next couple of years?
Well, inevitably my goal is to have all of the carpet pythons accessible within the United States. So I want Nova Guineas, I want diamonds, I want inlands. I want to get a little bit more into the locality stuff of some of the coastals and jungles. Over time, when I have more space, I've got representatives of coastals and jungles to hold me over until then. But I would love to sort of cover the spread of all the species and subspecies of Morelia and Morelia spilota. So I would also like to eventually get back into green tree pythons. I kept them years ago and got out of them after having some tumors kind of decimate a few breeders and things. I would love to get rough scales at one point and round out the whole Morelia plan that way. And then I need to get my female poplin python this year so I can have that pair and start striving towards establishing a pair of those towards future breeding. And then otherwise, I just want to keep sort of pursuing my carpet python projects and really just having fun with coming up with my own stuff. You know, I just really want to have this space to be able to put together a rounded collection and enjoy it and kind of close it off almost. You know, I don't really buy snakes that often anymore, and I would like to get to a point where the only snakes that I bring in are just like one-offs here and there, and I feel like I'm getting close to that point. So like I just bought my first snake the other day, and you know, 9-10 months. So yeah.
So you don't do any vending, right? It's all through Instagram and like word of mouth, right?
More or less, yeah.
Do you ever see yourself vending? Or
I
is
would
it strictly...
I would love to. I would love to. The problem is I haven't produced enough to, when it comes time for showtime, to even have enough to warrant like sharing a booth. I've put a few things on tables and like hung out with people and helped them share their stuff and like put a couple animals out, you know, here and there, but not even enough to like advertise that I'm vending the booth. You know, COVID's made it pretty easy to sell online, unfortunately, so that's making it hard. But I really would love to, you know, I've got displays. I'd like to get better ones. I'd love to have, you know, a presence and have that experience under my belt at least once. But I don't know. It's also hard because I really enjoy just hanging out at shows, you know, and not necessarily being tied to a booth.
It's nice being able to wander.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's fun being able to shop or just like look around or talk to people and hang out and socialize. But I don't know. I think once all this COVID stuff settles down and the show scene comes back around, you know, I'm hoping to buy a house in the next year or two. And if that ends up being the case, and I have the space to kind of flesh these projects out that I already have a little bit more and get that production to where I'm producing 10 to 20 clutches a year, you know, then yeah, I would absolutely love to be able to do shows all the time. The nice thing is my new job, the hobby side of stuff is absolutely crucial. So if we get to a point where shows are coming back, then that's definitely going to become a regular part of my work routine. So yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So does that mean that your collection is basically as big as it's going to get, or?
I mean, within reason.
I don't see, I already see the twinkle in your eyes, so I don't think you can answer that right. Like, there's always going to be something that we all want to add, and I understand that, but I'm saying from like looking at it from like a breeding aspect or just trying to be a responsible keeper aspect. Are you about where your limit is to handle it yourself, or do you feel like there's a higher ceiling you can go to without overdoing yourself right now?
I have more room before I hit my ceiling for sure. I like to think of myself as a pretty efficient and practical person as far as my systems and routines. Efficiency is kind of like a nerdy, geeky like thing for me. I really love efficiency. I love efficiency in keeping and systems. So anytime I can improve something and shave off a few seconds in my daily routine, like it's like a personal competition within myself. If I had more physical square footage, more space, I could still handle double this collection and do my full-time job. And that is my goal. My goal is to, in the next year, double this space. I got a lot of grow outs that are going to need it. And I've got a lot of plans for the future that will require more space because I'm at the point where I really don't want to cut out any more of what I've been working so hard to grow up and raise and really get going. I just, I spent so many years in the zoo field trying to make that happen. And it's just like, it's kind of a, I hate to go this route, but like anybody who works in the zoo field, unless you have a nest egg, unless you live in an area where your cost of living is very minuscule, you're going to really put yourself in a financial hole. If I'd have done literally anything as a career, I would be in a better financial standing. Even teachers get paid more than zookeepers. And it's pretty shady considering, zookeepers put their lives on the line, especially cat keepers, croc keepers, venomous keepers.
We were talking about that last night, actually.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've come close to death for $14 an hour. So it makes you think about it.
Well, I mean, at least you're getting 14. When I was working at the ranch, I was dealing with full-grown Brahma bulls that wanted you nowhere near their field daily.
Yeah, that's sketchy. That's a whole nother
$10 an hour. $10.
See, that's crazy, and that's the sort of thing that like, it's just a product of the industry, unfortunately. And there's like this machismo and guilt trip thing to it, like if you're in it for the money, you're a bad person, sort of thing. But it's like, well, I got bills to pay.
Exactly. You have to pay your bills, so you have
when
to.
When somebody hands you a piece of paper that's like, sign this, and this is your accidental death and dismemberment contract, where if you sign this, the zoo will put $20,000 towards your funeral costs. And like,
hey, they paid for you to go into the ground. That's nice.
I'm like, you pay me $13.50. Can I just get this like 20 up front? Like, please. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's in some states and some places it more than makes up for it, just not in California. Right. So it is what it is.
So are you going to be a Cali baby forever?
I hope not. Secretly, I hope not. Not so secretly. Like I'm a fifth generation Californian. I see so much opportunity elsewhere that it's hard for me to ignore. But I have to, it's got to be the right time, right choice, right place for more than just me. So
right. No, I completely understand that, brother.
Yeah. My better half is the giraffe queen out here. She's on like her fifth giraffe baby in her 9-year career. She's freaking champ. So
she's killing it.
Yeah, I moved up here for her to take this opportunity. There's no way I'm going to do anything to sabotage that. And I'm fortunate enough to have made it work and then find alternative plans to keep it going when that didn't work. So, I'm grateful to be where I'm at. So,
well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, dude, I'm enjoying the freaking ride. Shoot, I get to play with water monitors and lace monitors, and
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous. Like, I gotta quit watching your stories during the day.
It's pretty cool too, because like I'm usually the first one there for a couple hours, so I have the place to myself, so I can, turn on the lights and spend a little extra few minutes like checking on things and socializing and doing work with stuff, and that's like part of my job. So
which animal is it? Like, which one stole your heart? Because there's got to be one. Like, I feel with everything that you do there has to be one animal that's just kind of taken your heart away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's an easy question. That's a no-brainer. It's Rudy. She's a female black dragon Asian water monitor, and she's going on 8 years old, and tip to tail, she's maybe 5 feet, like maybe. Snout to vent, she's probably 2.5 feet.
Wow.
So she's not a big water monitor at all. She's jet black, and she's puppy dog tame. She loves having her neck scratched, and she'll like lean into it, and you can like, all the stuff that you see Kevin McCurley doing with his water monitors that are super well socialized. That's her.
Oh yeah.
and she's an absolute doll, and her babies come out the same way. They're absolute sweethearts, and she's everything you ever want in a monitor lizard. And I mean, if I didn't have, her to play with every day in this big, massive enclosure, but I still had that experience, it would be a really dangerous temptation. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I feel you. I mean, I love, this is going to sound bad. I love, like I said, dangerous animals, I guess, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like big animals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we just don't have the room for it. Well, not unfortunately,
yeah.
like that's probably a good thing. Like,
yeah, no,
obviously I have enough room to, like, once my retics get full size, they'll be able to stretch out and get extra.
Sure.
We have space for their enclosures and all that. And the way I am now, like, a retic doesn't stay in its enclosure longer than maybe 2 days at a time. Like, when I'm changing the water, when I'm feeding, when I'm changing substrate, because we all know retics piss constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's in your room, you don't want that. You just don't want it. It's not.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful smell to walk into after the end of the day. But I just wish I had more room, and I think that's one of the things that we're talking about. Like, we're looking at within the next year. We're not sure exactly where we're going, but once I finish my nursing degree, and depending on whether I get approved for my nurse practitioner license, we're gonna end up moving. And I told her I need a house that has about an extra 1,000 square feet, regardless of what our income is. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Like, we're gonna do what we have to, but I need a room to be able to house some stuff, because
nice.
I definitely want to, like, create a small pool and get into, like, dwarf caiman or some sort of small crocodilian, because I love crocodilians and I can't do it here. I just don't have the room to do it. Like, I could put them in if I cleared out my garage, I could probably make something in my garage. Because
but you want to do it proper.
It's not enough.
You want to do it proper.
Exactly.
There's nothing like natural sunlight. I mean, everybody in crocodilians will tell you the science and the research hasn't shown any difference between no UV and actual UV, and there's a lot of debate about that verbatim. I went to croc school. I've worked with animals indoors, outdoors, raised and switched in both environments, and I don't know if there's any difference, but you can't beat natural UV. And if you can replicate it and do it right outside, even if you need dappled sunlight through the use of a plant canopy, you can do that too. Right. I just think with crocodilians, that's such a pinnacle animal. Even a dwarf caiman from Nerd that's socialized, and I don't know. I feel like that's a freaking serious animal. Even when it's puppy dog, like, one accident and you could die. And, like, that's an extreme, of course. But, like, if that animal hits you in an artery or a bad spot, or I don't know, it's just. I've always had a healthy respect for even, like, the smallest, and I've worked with both trigs and palps of the dwarf caiman, and I've had teeth smashed into my knee. I've had my hands dang near, like, grabbed. I've had thumbs and mouth. Like, I've come close to some pretty heinous ones, and it's just, like, from 3.5 foot animals. So I don't know. To me, like, I experienced them in a zoo setting, and if I'd have grown up with my introduction to them from maybe, like, a hobbyist setting, maybe it would be different. But I just can't. I don't know. It's weird to me to think of.
Riley just said, "I'm never coming to your house once you make that crazy."
Hell no! I love working with them. I'll get my hands on them anytime I can. I love it, but, like, for me, it's like I have to think of my own reasoning and different mentalities, and kind of think about, like, where do I truly stand on some of these things. And I think a full bar none approach is not acceptable. And I think there's plenty of private keepers that are capable of learning safe practices for crocodilians and venomous alike. So I can never say no to anything like that.
I mean, there's definitely some people that probably shouldn't, but
Of
I
course.
agree with you. Like, if you're willing to take the right steps, by all means, take the right steps. Like, I will never get into crocodilians before I've had training with them. I will never get into venomous before I get that license through Texas. Ooh, Lord. It's pretty bad when noise canceling headphones picks up kids being in trouble. It's gonna be great.
Mom's coming. Watch
Mommy's
out.
mad. Watch out. But I enjoy watching people go through that process too. I think you gain so much more from finding, and I wouldn't even say one mentor. I think you need to have multiple mentors because there's always multiple styles, and finding a way to co-mesh those styles is what makes a lot of people successful in what they do. Like, obviously, if you just force yourself to work with that one animal or whatever for an extended period of time, like the way that Kevin's like kind of methodical with all of it, like he works with an animal so much that he figures out the ins and outs. And yes, he does his research, and yes, I'm sure he's worked with other people with stuff, but it just seems like there's very few animals that he can't figure out. But if you're willing to take your time, willing to learn and do your due diligence, which is something you and me talked about a lot. Like, I remember my first year, I got really fucking frustrated, like all the time. I was like, why do they quit eating? Why am I seeing that? Like, I'm understanding the behavior, but I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And you're like, dude, just take a step back, relax, breathe, study. And so I was pounding it out, and I was like, yeah, you guys, you got to study, like read the books, do this, do that. And I would preach it. And I started realizing he's not just talking about the books. Like, you can study the books all you want, study the freaking animal, because every animal is different, which I gotta say thank you for that, brother, because without your guidance, I would definitely not be where I am right now.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude. Yeah, every animal is different. You hear about that 1,000-gram wall with a lot of ball pythons. You know, every species has their little quirks. I think there's so much that we don't understand about every species, even the ones we think we have dialed in. I think some people have it figured out better than others. Some people come across it by accident, and then I think there's those animals that just give us a run for our money, no matter what. You know, the phrase that sticks out to me the most is being a student of the serpent, like you just said, paying attention to the animals. And it's something that like seems so obvious, but it isn't necessarily. Especially when you're trying to like go through a system and replicate a formula for a certain goal with the best of intentions. Sometimes we just kind of get caught up in our repetitions and our gears and our motions, and sometimes just missings, or, you know, question ourselves or doubt ourselves, or I don't know. Every season seems to teach every breeder something different, no matter how seasoned they are.
Right.
The best of breeders have train wreck seasons.
I talked to a lot this year. I don't know what it was about ball pythons this year, but a lot of the people that I talked to, they had a really hard year with ball pythons, and especially in the South.
Yeah.
And we're kind of saying that it's a heat wave,
There's
Just
that
the
for
heat.
sure.
There was no freaking cooling this past year, so
Oh yeah, I mean
the
down at
females were
that,
supposed to be growing follicles.
yeah,
They just couldn't.
down at the latitudes that like Southern California and further, and even where you're at, it doesn't get cold like until way later than it should. I mean, right now it's 90s out here. It's
It was
October.
mid-90s in December here last year.
Dude, in Santa Barbara, I used to go to the beach on Christmas. Well, like that's
Well,
not.
I mean, it is Santa Barbara. It is.
Yeah, but I
I
had the
mean,
hardest time getting animals to breed down there because of it too. Like it was ridiculous. I couldn't cool things down.
were you a
And even
banana
up,
slug?
what's that?
Were you a banana slug?
No, that's UC Santa Cruz.
I messed it up. Dang.
No, I was a gaucho. We were the ones that like when your soccer team came to play us because we didn't have a football team. So like two things. One, we had the t-shirts that said still undefeated in a football team, like a football on there. Yeah, because we didn't have a football team, so we're still undefeated. And I don't really recall how the tradition started, but we had a good soccer team. And if we scored a goal, everybody in the stand would start chucking fucking tortillas onto the field. So it would be raining freaking corn tortillas, and it was just out of hand. And so the players would have to like run through and play with tortillas. Like it was nuts, dude. So
That's funny.
yeah.
Well, brother, it has been over an hour. I promised you not to go
Yeah, it's all good.
too long. I mean, I'm not gonna pull a Sean Bradley on you and make you go 5 hours. So
5 hour, dude, I'd pass out.
that was a very, very. It was fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I learned so much that night. But
Yeah, that's what counts.
whew,
5 hours. I think the longest I've done was 4. I did a 4-hour one with Eric, Owen, and Andy. I think we did damn near 4 hours on the New Year's NPR episode last year. We got absolutely tossed and made complete fools of ourselves. It was great. I don't remember any of it. I think
about where I got halfway through with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to stop drinking. I'm done.
You know you're going down in a bad way when that happens.
So I got 2 more things for you, and then we'll let you and Mama enjoy your night.
Hey, go for it, man.
Thank you. If you could go anywhere to go herping, where would it be?
Australia. I had my trip all planned out. I had gear purchased and ready to go, bags dang near packed. I had the itinerary ready to go with Eric Burke and Rob Stone and Justin Juliander was going to tag on last minute, and we were set to go to Western Australia to look for womas and a bunch of stuff like that, imbricata, and it was right before COVID, and we had to cancel the trip. And that was going to be my dream trip. So until I get redemption, yeah, it's Australia, and I it's one of those things where like I could probably never be satiated enough with Australia trips. So it's like any Australia trips are dreams of a lifetime trip for sure.
And then do your thing, brother. Plug all your stuff. Let us know about, what is it, GX3? I feel like
okay. Yeah. So GX3 Reptiles is the shop in Sacramento. Brand new. It's open 7 days a week, 12 to 6:30 right now. So if you're in Sacramento area, come check that out. As far as myself, I'm just Rileys Reptiles on Instagram, Facebook, just Rileys Jimison on YouTube. And then I host / co-host 2 podcasts, the Reptile Room podcast with myself and Andy Ray, and the Call You Bird Corner podcast with myself and Owen McIntyre of Rogue Reptiles on the NPR network. And I think that's it.
And links for those will be posted after this video post. I will have to get with Riley to get all of those.
Yeah, I'll get that to you for sure. Right.
Thank you all so much for watching tonight, and we're going to see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Later.